Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Penny Lane podcast. In today's episode, Blaine and Bofo are joined by Trade and Fade. Justin shares his path to consistency, the leap of faith to becoming a full-time trader, and how he found his trading community using fintwit. A big thank you to our sponsors TrendSpider, Personify app, and Last Bottle Wines for supporting the show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Enjoy.
Hello, Justin. Welcome to the Penny Lane podcast. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. It's so weird for me to say, hey, Justin, and not be my Justin, you know? Talk about not seeing someone for a month of Sundays.
Yeah, you even had another Justin on before, right?
Yeah, my brother-in-law was the original pioneer of the PLP, and he's gone MIA.
Oh, man.
Big time. I can't even get in touch with him, so it's nice to have a Justin back on the pod.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Bofo's filling in some shoes, so nice to have Bofo here as well.
We got Bofo. I haven't talked to Ellis in forever. I mean, we're just Bofo. It's just me and Bofo now. Blaine and Bofo.
Blaine and Bofo. That's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I'm so glad to have you on. What kind of sweatshirt are you wearing? Oh, God.
Florida Gators, baby. Yeah, I know.
Oh, God.
I know you're the Georgia Bulldog
fan.
But, you know,
how
to come on and represent.
It's sort of matching Bo's shirt a little bit.
There you go.
No, this is like pink and gray. But I can see it in the camera what you mean.
Are you wearing the Florida Gators shirt just to antagonize me? Because it's working.
No, this is actually probably one of two sweatshirts I own. My house stays pretty cold, so I'm usually bundled up throughout the day.
What temperature do you guys like to keep your houses on?
69.
I prefer I prefer warmer. We're about low 70s here throughout the day. 69 at night. So
I see what you guys are doing. 69
no,
is...
that's serious,
no,
yeah.
69 is an ideal sleeping temperature. It truly is. It's incredibly hot in Atlanta right now, so I've got it down to 67. But 69 is ideal.
Oh, man. What's the weather like?
Can I share something while we're talking about 69 just before I forget about it?
Yes, please.
So
I hope it's good.
Well, this is a thing that I've been doing in real ones for a while. Like every time I'm in a play and like one of my plays goes to the 69 cents, you know, I always scale some. And like I always establish it as like my target is, you know, 269 or whatever. And so I'm trying to organically make 69 become a psych level in the market.
Okay.
It's a grassroots initiative.
I feel like it is. There's definitely some of these big runners. I'd have to like pull up some charts and look, but I know some of these big runners, they'll stop at 69. You'll even see like SPY stall out at like 420. Like the whole market's just become like a meme. It's great.
Yeah, I'll always say that. Like taking profits here at the 69 psych resistance as if it's already a thing.
Sure. When I would trade pennies, I'd scale in like units of 69 just to like keep myself like entertained. So I'd have my buttons up at the top of like how many shares you could buy, and I just set it to 69. But it would like, you should scale in at like 100 shares, but I don't know. I just found it kind of.
We do that.
Perch was even.
Good, Justin.
I was going to say, Perch was even talking about how when he would trade certain positions, he would use the position size 69. That way, when he went to go like replay his trades like on TOS on demand, he could see exactly where he was entering on the tape, like it was his little signature on the time and sales.
Yeah,
guys,
we'll do that too. Well, because you want to see it on the tape and you want to let all the other buyers know, like, we're here, 69.
Yeah.
All of FinTwit is really a 13-year-old boy. Me included. You've seen the boner mugs. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you guys have them or no? I can't
Oh
remember.
yeah, I do.
I don't have a boner mug. I think I was a little bit late to the party on that, but I am standing by for potentially a gap filler mug. If
So good. It's so good. It's so good.
that comes to fruition.
It's so good. The boner mugs are so great. And you know what I love about them is the quality is just phenomenal. Bofa, wouldn't you agree? Like,
Oh yeah, the mug
weight
is
on
fantastic.
them, there's no sheen. It's a matte black. It's like beautifully done. And then it says boner.
And it's like a
Oh,
nice,
joke.
like that thing holds a little volume too, you know?
Yes.
Like it's not just
yeah.
one where you fill your coffee up and it's about to spill over the top. It's like, it's a pretty good mug.
I know. So I'm thinking for the gap filler mug, it's like the same, but instead of the boner, there's the gap filler logo, whatever I do. It's going to be funny, whatever it is. But then I could just keep going in the series. And like, if you wanted to collect them all, it could be like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Did you get those when you were little? Those like little McDonald's coffee cups that were glass? This was in the 80s. I forget.
Oh,
Probably.
no, that's
Yeah.
before my time.
Anyway, you could have a whole section of coffee cups with jokes on them.
What comes after Fill the Gap?
I really, really like Trendline Reject. It's not as sexual in nature, though.
I was going
But
to
it
say,
is
69 Psych Resistance sounds pretty good too.
69 psych resistance. I mean, we've already gone for it, but I like Trendline Reject as like a slogan or something. What is that from? Is it a Green Day? There's something Reject. High school.
All American Rejects. Is that what
That's
you're-
it. Yes,
Yeah, the
Green
band.
Day, right? Or no, that's
No,
a
it's
No,
a
no,
band.
that's the name of the band.
What was their song?
It was never my type of music. I couldn't tell you.
But there's one song that everybody knows.
Do they do the
Now I'm
Mr.
gonna have to-
Brightside song?
Now we gotta look it up. Now we gotta look it up.
Oh, they've got a couple. Gives You Hell, Dirty Little Secret.
Ooh,
I'll
that's a
give you
coffee
my
mug.
Dirty Little Secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's great.
Yep.
Move Along. Man, these guys, they had some bangers.
Who knew?
Yeah, Dirty Little Secret is what I was thinking of.
All right, guys, I'm so glad we did a little marketing meeting here in the beginning just to really flesh out the rest of the PLP line. All right, Justin, tell us how you got into trading.
Oh man. So I never really knew much about the stock market up until maybe a few years ago. I had always heard things about it, but I always thought it was kind of just like, something the wealthy people did. And I knew like my 401k was invested in the stock market at the time, and that's pretty much all I knew about it. So at the time, this was pre-COVID. It was actually kind of when COVID was first starting to ramp up here in the States. So I used to work out in the oil field, and I heard some coworkers at the time talking, about kind of when the market was taking a little bit of a tanking. They were talking about like, hey, do you think like Delta and Carnival Cruises and all these airlines and cruise lines would be like good buys here because it's like they have to recover, right? And I was like thinking to myself, I was like, that's kind of interesting.
Wait.
And anyways,
That's what got me in was CCL, right? That's my baby.
I do, yeah.
Yes, because people love to cruise.
Yeah.
It's the one American truth.
I love cruises.
I haven't been on
mean-
a
Back
cruise.
on another one.
never been
Well
on
worth
one.
the money. Yeah, well worth the money.
They
As long
sound
as you get a drink
fantastic, but
package.
some people shit on cruises.
Some people shit on cruises.
Yeah.
It doesn't keep away Americans. Americans
Yeah.
love a cruise. They love
Yep.
the whole experience. I think it's the extravagance.
All right, I'm
I-
gonna go
I
on a
just like
Great
I like the all inclusive, like you buy your ticket, you buy your drink package, you have all these activities, the casino, drinking, destinations, you have all that lined out for you, which is awesome.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. All right, I love this. Is how geniuses get into the stock market. Let's keep going.
Irrational exuberance? When it comes to killer wine at drastically low prices, 30 to 70% off retail and free shipping, we live for that here at Last Bottle Wines. Whether you went long or short on GameStop, you'll need a glass of something terrifically tasty, and we've got the goods. Last Bottle is a daily wine site based in Napa, California. One wine every day at Black Swan event prices, usually 30 to 70% off until poof, it's gone. Whether you're a pound the table type, think ultra crisp, quaffable Sauvignon Blanc, or a dividend aristocrat, Burgundy, or Napa Cab, there simply is no better place to buy wine on the web, and they always have free shipping. Last Bottle has a deal just for Penny Lane listeners. Use promo code PENNY10 to save 10% on your next order with Last Bottle. The code is good for one order and one order only.
So, anyways, we'll fast forward a little bit, and I got laid off from work due to COVID and, oil crashing and all that. And at the time, I was living back with my girlfriend at her parents' house, and I remember just waking up one morning, scrolling through TikTok, and there was like a stock video talking about this ticker called VTIQ, which at the time was the SPAC name for Nikola. And they were talking about all these like potential revenues that, the company was going to get, and like the fair valuation on the company. And, this should be like, a steal at these prices. So anyways, I opened up a brokerage account and started added a few $1,000s in it, nothing that I couldn't afford to lose. Went ahead and I bought some, Delta and some Apple just to be safe. I was like, oh, these will be good long-term holds, even though they were like only a few shares each. And then I basically threw the rest of that money at Nikola pre-SPAC. And I think at the time it was like in the low 30s. And then I think they were like, I saw more of these TikTok videos or whatever about Nikola, and I was like, oh, let me add in a few $1,000s more before this merger, which was like when they de-SPACed. And again, I didn't know anything about the stock market, let alone SPACs and mergers and stuff like that. So to make a long story short, I caught a little bit of beginner's luck, and I remember opening up the brokerage one day, and like my $30 Nikola shares were up to like $90 one day. I was like, whoa, it's this easy, right? So seen only a couple $1,000s turn into like $8,000 or something like that. And I remember like going to show my girlfriend, I was like, whoa, look how much money this is. Like I just bought, this company and it's worth this much now. And she's like, well, are you going to sell? And I'm like, no, because like, what if this is the price of Tesla one day? Like thinking like $600+ in advance. So of course I rode that stock all the way back down, took a loss on it. And I was like, I just realized that I just need the money to maybe further dabble, and maybe I didn't know what I was doing. Anyways, so skipping ahead a little bit, I forgot exactly how I found FinTwit. But once I got onto FinTwit, that's when I found Zach. And at the time he was calling out SPAQ, which was another SPAC EV name. And I was like, whoa, I guess all SPAC EVs, when they merge, they make this massive move. But this time, I'll take my profits. So I loaded up probably another like $10,000 into my portfolio. And I threw it all at SPAQ. And I was like, Zach's calling for 50. And I remember hitting the cash tag on SPAQ. And all these like popular Twitter accounts were like calling for SPAQ to 50. And I was like, gotta go to 50, right? So I was waiting for 50. I think even before like I finally got out of the stock, like I wrote this down from like 13 to 7, and I was just like,
yeah.
Oh shit, like do I really take a loss on this? And at the time that this was happening, I was actually back to work, which was nice. So I didn't really feel like, I guess, obligated to take my money. I was just like, well, I guess now I'm an investor. Finally, it bounced up a little bit, and I was able to take, some profit on it. But I remember like hearing about scaling out. So I think I only took 10% of my position off when it was like $7 above my entry. And then I wrote it all the way back down basically for break even. So that's kind of when I decided. I was just like, clearly I'm not doing something right. And basically, found Atlas, started taking more calls and stuff like that. And then really it wasn't up until like I started losing just like a lot more. I never blew up. But like just something wasn't clicking for me. Well, towards the end of December 2020 is kind of when I was just like, well, I think I just need to be more smart with my positioning, more smart with taking profits. And like, I could take these alerts, that's fine. So in December 2020, I was taking like, these were like all of the big Atlas swings at the time. It was TRCH, BISL, ONTX, and I think there was a couple others. No, I wasn't in UAVS, but it was a time where like small caps were really SNDL.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Oh yeah.
So basically, for the first like year, I didn't really make any money, but I didn't really lose any money. And then within a couple weeks, all of these swings took off, and I like hit it big within a couple weeks. Like my account was already over PDT. I was like, oh, this is the next step. Like I've got this in the bag. I got to figure it out now. Well, I remember waking up for work one day and all of these, like SPY just crashed. Like all these small caps just started to crash. And I think I lost a couple $1,000s. And at the time, like obviously I didn't have risk management and have a plan. So I said, well, I'll just wait till these bounce a little bit and then I'll take my profits. And then all of the popular Twitter accounts were basically saying, this is just the shakeout. This is the dip before the rip. So then, of course, the next 2 days, I was watching it just bleed out further and further. Well, it finally got to a point where like I just wasn't seeing any bounce on anything. And I was like, all right, well, if my account falls below 20,000, I'll just cut all my bags. I'll be done with that. Fell below 20,000. I didn't have I didn't have the strength in me to cut. And I essentially rode everything back down to the bottom, but I at least was disciplined enough to cut my losses at the point of like what my initial investment was. So I never actually blew up, but I did lose all of those really nice gains that the hot COVID market provided, which was like, looking back was just such easy money. And it's like, if I knew what I know now back then, like it'd just be a game changer. Anyways, fast forwarding a little bit, and that's kind of where I really just started to self-educate. And I really started to learn a strategy. And but there was kind of an issue with working and trading where like, so I would work a schedule where I'd go to work for 2 weeks at a time. They were like 14-hour shifts. I was away from home, and I'd basically come back. I'd have like 2 days of travel each way. I'd have only 5 days off. So I would never really want to spend my 5 days off trading or anything like that. I would dabble here and there, but that's not how I spend my time. Come October of this past year, I was like, I really want to make trading work. Like I see the potential in it. I see what it has to offer. I'm going to take that leap of faith. I'm going to quit my full-time job without having like any lick of consistency in the market. I had savings, where I could buy myself time. But I was like, if I'm quitting my job, I'm going to dedicate like, my heart and soul into this, and I'm just going to make it work. Not that my back was up against the wall financially, because I wouldn't quit my job if that was the case, but I wanted to, invest in myself, take that leap of faith. And so here we are 9 months later, and, I can officially say that investment in myself's paid off. which is a nice thing to hear.
For
So-
sure. For sure.
So you didn't have consistency, but you had some experience, right? Like, or were you just not doing anything but those alert swings all the way until October 21?
No, so I did try kind of, learning some setups. Like I learned your basic setups, your bull flags, your wedges, and I would play stuff kind of as I see it, and I would play with definitely a lot smaller size than I was, because at the time, like, if you've ever seen that Trader Journeys chart where it's like you peak up, beginner's luck, you lose it all, and then it's just sideways chop for a while before breaking out. I was just sideways chopping. So I had the capital in my account, but I wasn't really, I needed to size way down. So I was still kind of experimenting with things that worked, such as, buying the dip on like certain bullish names, or, the certain setups, bull flags, wedges, things of that sort. And this was exclusively small caps, if I didn't clarify that. So yeah, I was taking alerts for a while, but I did kind of realize that, okay, maybe I'm just now getting burnt on these alerts, and I don't know what I'm doing. But it wasn't really up until after I quit my job that I dived deeper into strategy development, risk management, finding my own plan and my own system.
What did that look like for you from October till now, as far as like, how did you devise your strategy? And then like, did the consistency just kind of start from there, or was there a turning point, or what happened?
So I think my biggest turn in terms of like my consistency has been my risk management 100%. What I would do is I would hold on to things and wait for them to come back up, in the past. And sometimes that just didn't work out. And then you take big losses that way. And then even if you had some big wins scattered throughout, like the math just doesn't work out that way. So what I found best worked for me at that time, or kind of when I was developing, even really just developing what strategies work, is if I'm getting into a play and it's not working for me, like almost not, I wouldn't say instantly, but if it's not kind of doing what I think it's going to do, if it looks a little bit weaker, I'm just out of the trade. Like no more big losses. Like that's it. If it looks weak, I'm out. Even if it goes. Like I had the mentality that I would just rather protect my capital to continue to grow it while I'm still learning, because what I had left in my trading account, I was like, I'm not depositing anything in here. Like this is the money that I have to grow. And it's true, I haven't deposited another dollar into my account since I quit. And then as far as strategy development, this is kind of where you'll hear that conventional type of wisdom, pick one strategy, and really master it and develop it. Well, to do that, you kind of have to dive into like all kinds of different things to see what works.
Mm-hmm.
Do playing flags work? Does playing general momentum work? Are you more of like a scalper? Are you, like playing supply and demand? Those sorts of things. So I definitely got my feet wet into a lot of different things. And there's one strategy in particular, which I don't really dabble in now, which I found incredible consistency with. It was scalping warrants based on common share movements. So we'll find some of these common shares, especially the SPACs. They're super low float. They'll go into halts, stuff like this. And if you're quick enough to these stocks that have warrants, you can actually scalp the warrants as a sympathy. And for somebody who was trying to grow an account, and I had a cash account, so I'd split up my money half one day, then half the next day. So I always had money to play with. You can get 10, 20, 30% on these warrants like instantly if the commons were moving violently enough, and they were cheap too. They were sub $1 or sub $2. So it's like you can really load the boat on them and win that way. So this was actually one strategy while I was growing my account that like I had in my tool belt. But while still doing that, I was still learning other things, learning how to play momentum, learning how to really also execute properly. And now since then, my trading styles evolved a little bit, and we can get into that. But that's really kind of where my turning point as a trader and consistency came from, was just completely cutting out the big losses and really experimenting with certain strategies, and finding at least one niche that I can go back to and grow my capital with.
So you mentioned that you had some runway saved up or whatever, and you just went full send on this thing. Like, in your mind at that point in October 2021, like, how much time did you really have to give this a full go, where you needed to become profitable and live off of this? Like, how long could that have taken before you needed to go get a job again?
Yes, that's actually a good question. So, essentially, in the bank, expenses wise, saving wise, I had probably about a year and a half worth of expenses in the bank. Now, the only reason that I went straight from working full time to taking on trading full time is actually where I'm kind of at geographically. There's no work down here for me with my background and my field. And the reason we're here is my girlfriend, she's getting her master's degree. And so I knew at the time that I quit that we would only have like a little bit less than a year left here. So I knew worst comes to worst, I just buy myself some time until we leave, and then I apply for jobs elsewhere, get a job, go back to work. I did also have it in my mind that, all right, well, let's say 6 months in, it's really not working, I'm not making any progress, or maybe at the time I was thinking 4 months, then okay, maybe it's time to go just get a part-time job. At least kind of soften the blow, not to really just chew through the savings. And this is not something I would really ever advocate for somebody to quit a job without having at least something lined up, like, because like I know talking about it to other people, like, it sounds stupid, like, to quit. I mean, I had a great job with great benefits, paid great. It sounds really stupid to leave that job to take on something as trading full time when I had no track record of like proven consistency at all, like that I knew how to be profitable. So I guess the way that I interpreted when I was quitting was, I'm going to use this time to invest in myself. Like, there isn't like something I can do down here to further my career, or at least make a lateral change in my career. So why don't I use this time to do something that I do want to do? And that's how I look at it now. And that's how I looked at it then, was investing in myself. And the rest is history.
And here you are now, which is very profitable, making lots of money. Justin and I have been talking a good bit, so I know a little bit about him that he hasn't shared yet. But so tell us about now. What are you doing, and what's next?
Yeah, so something I had actually, I guess, discovered before I even broke over PDT, which was just under 3 months ago, was, I would look, and it's very similar to Perch's trading style, which is amazing, because like I didn't even know Perch before I found him on your Twitter, Blaine, and I think I had shared a Twitter thread on a type of strategy I like to use as a wallet patter, something I know I can make a few extra $100 doing. And for the past couple months, what we've seen in small caps, and granted we're starting to see a little bit of momentum return, but we've been seeing like serious lack of follow through on small caps, and it really just made my trust for holding anything longer than a few minutes like very minimal. So this strategy that I kind of figured out, as far as like scalping just based on level 2 and tape reading, it it just kind of evolved into slowly increasing my size, slowly kind of developing a basket of tickers I know I can go back to every day. Um, tickers that I can long and short. Um, and instead of it now just becoming a wallet powder, it's become really more my core strategy. Um, and of course, it's something I do want to eventually branch away from. Not, I wouldn't say completely branch away from. Uh, the big drawdown to it is it is mentally exhausting. There is a lot of trades involved with it. It is, I guess, very high frequency scalping. Um, so I mean, I do want to get to that point where like, oh, I can maybe hit a couple trades throughout the day and go about my day. Truth be told, I don't have anything better to do with my time down here other than go to the gym after after I'm done trading. Spend some time with the girlfriend and the dogs, but for the time being, like I know it's like a proven strategy that I can come to the desk, every day, sit down and make my money, and then just go about the rest of my day.
This is an important point, and you kind of touched on it as you're telling your story, right? Like people say, like, find that one strategy and master it. And to your point, sometimes that's not step one. Like sometimes you've got to really do some experimenting with yourself and understand like my schedule, my personality, my demons, my account size, what strategy are those all pointing me to? And then once you find something that's working a little bit for you, like maybe that's the one that you start to hone in on and really start to master. So it's been cool watching you and Perch like really go full send into this strategy now. Like this is the strategy that you master and it becomes the foundation to add that next strategy. And like I'm talking, these guys are trying new brokers. They're like talking to the brokerages on support and figuring out what's good for them. They're like figuring out what size orders get them the best fills. Like these guys are pushing it to the limit and they found crazy, crazy, crazy consistency doing that. And I think it's been awesome to be a part of and watch. And it's kind of kind of like when people ask you like, oh, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, give me a roadmap, give me some pointers or tips. It's kind of, that's how it works. Like find the thing that starts working for you a little bit and then just be meticulous about improving it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I first started on this full-time journey, like account below PDT, not knowing anything really about consistent trading. You have, and I think you touched on this on Twitter, like you can reach out to all the traders in the world about like what their strategies are and how they go about it and do it. But until you sit down and you try it, you don't know if it's going to fit your personality. You don't know if it's even something like you're comfortable doing. Like the whole goal is to have, a community of traders where you can pick little pieces off of and then make that style your own. And you only can do that by doing it. There is no simple recipe for finding that one successful strategy. But I'll tell you what, there's like after a few days of doing it and you can visually see that strategy is working, that's where that confidence comes in. And then you just keep doing it. And then you just prove to yourself that, hey, this works. Like, it's not enough to take a couple flag setups and say, oh, like I'm a flag trader. You have to be able to like see hundreds, if not thousands of different setups and realize like, I know how to play this. What's the best way to play this? Or do I even play it at all? And again, you hear the word screen time get thrown around a lot as like the best teacher, but is without a doubt, 100% fact. Like without like being in front of the screens and just seeing how things move, you do get that sixth sense, that like more that intuition type feeling, which is something that like I think has also helped my trading. Because again, I've now been at this full time for 9 months and I don't do anything all day other than sit in front of the screens and watch how charts move. And that right there is screen time.
Yeah. It's really frustrating for people to hear that too. Like, I remember I used to get frustrated with Mikey Underdog because I would be like, why did you like this flag and not that flag? They looked the same to me. Like, why did this one work and this one didn't? And you played this one and it worked, and I played this one and it didn't. And and he could just never articulate it. And it ultimately just comes down to like, I just have seen this a million times. I don't know, man. Like, I can't even tell you what I see. It's just like I've seen this so many times that like it spoke to me. The chart said buy it, and I did.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
absolutely.
It's a funny thing, and you would think the more time you spend looking at things, the better you could get articulating.
Mm-hmm.
Like yesterday, I bought SPY puts because like at the very end of the day there was such a huge sell-off, and then I got calls today because there wasn't a huge sell-off. It was like holding the level higher, and I was just like, it just seems like, but I mean, I don't know if that's going to work out or not, but I have a lot more conviction being like, well, I've watched SPY for 300 days now, and I feel like
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
And sometimes like there will be certain trades that I take, which I'll get asked like, why did you take that trade? And like really deep down, if I had to give you the raw truth answer, it'd just be like, I feel like I could flip it to make a little bit of money here. It may look like the ugliest, choppiest chart in the world, but if I'm watching the tape and the level too, like if I feel like I could flip this, for a few cents and make a couple $100, that's just part of that, sense and that intuition, that you guys are also touching on.
Yeah. That's great, man. I'm like I said, I've really enjoyed getting to know you and your squad. And like I said, I mean, the consistency you guys have going is inspiring, and it's the kind of thing that I want to surround myself with. So very glad that we've connected here in the past couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great, talking to you daily, and listening to you and how how you go about your strategy, about your style of trading. It really is awesome. Like just learning how other people trade, and there is no one size fits all. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter if you're trading the same strategy. Like Perch he pretty much does the exact same thing that I do, but he has his own way of doing it, versus how I do it, and that, I mean, that's truly what's awesome about just the market in general is there's just a million ways to skin a cat, and if you can make your money in one trade, call it a day, go about your day, it's awesome. If you can make your money in thousands of trades a day, not to say that I do 1,000 trades, but if you can, like, that's awesome too. It's just all about finding, what works for you.
And let's make strat shaming a thing of the past. Like, don't let, if you're making money in any way in the stock market, like, this shit is hard. Like, don't let anyone shame you for your strategy. Like, don't let people tell you that like scalping is like worse than longer holds or swings or options or whatever. If you're making money, that shit's awesome.
Yeah. Totally.
Definitely. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that I probably have, I don't know, 20 to 30% of my trades a day where I have to just take my 1 cent and run.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that if you're taking a 1 cent trade with size, 4,000+ shares, I forgot who said it. I think it was Esk Trading that said it. Like, you don't be too good for like $40. Like, I'll take that $40 10 times in a row, and right there is a 6-figure salary.
Dude, that was one of the biggest, because Real Simple Ariel said something very similar to me back
Yeah.
in August. Now, this was like a turning point conversation that I had in my career. Like it literally just like shifted something in my brain where I went on I'm not kidding you, the day after I had that call with Ariel, I went on a 6-week green streak. And what he said to me on the phone was, like, are you too good for $40? Are you too good for $20? If you're walking down the sidewalk and you see $20 on the sidewalk, are you not going to bend down and pick it up? And I was like, well, yeah. He's like, then don't be too good for a $20 trade. Like, if you're too good for a $20 trade, then fuck you. That's what he said.
Yeah, no, and seriously,
Love hearing
Yeah, me too.
that base hit mentality is like game changer. Now, what I will say on that note is there is, people talk about like having to build your account, over PDT. It's almost like a rite of passage type of deal. And I did it, and I was actually talking to both Callum and Berkey about this. At the time when I was getting really, really close to breaking PDT, I was like, I know what I'm doing. Like, if I could just take my quick wins over and over, and if I can just, manage my risk the way that I've been managing my risk, like, I feel like I can really, blow up my profits like easily. Um, you know, Berkey was telling me, hey, like, go for it, like, you know what you're doing. Callum was basically telling me, don't you fucking dare. I don't know if I could curse, so sorry.
totally fine.
Said, don't you dare like add, more money to your account, like grow your account over PDT, and you'll feel so much better about it. Just because like I did want that pride of saying like, hey, I was able to consistently grow this account over PDT, that was that feeling just, I don't even know how to describe it. Like having that feeling of pride and knowing that you can do it, it's just an extra sense of validation. But where I was going with that was there are certain things that under PDT, like the way that I'm doing it, you can't really do. You can't be in and out of trades all day long, because one, if you're in a margin account, like you're allotted to 3 trades, a week. If you're on cash account, you're really just limited to the amount of trading capital that you've allotted to your account. Which was kind of the demon that I was facing was, sometimes I felt a little bit uneasy cutting a trade, because then I just wasted, capital, cash on the day. And, there's certain psychological barriers that I was facing under PDT that I knew once I got over PDT, like, would just be gone. And, that's what happened. As soon as I got above PDT, like, I really just blew up, in a good way. And so I couldn't be more thankful that, I still spent my PDT journey kind of still developing a system and learning and really tightening up my risk management. And that's one thing that, I'm not the best momentum trader. Like, there's a lot of learning that I still have to do and I want to do. But if there's going to be one thing that I'll toot my own horn about, it's going to be my risk management. I mean, that's the one thing that's going to keep you in this game. And I want to stay in this game as long as I can. So,
When was your last red day?
back in March.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so
That
it's
is awesome.
like, I don't know, it's like over 60 plus days now, or something of that sort. And
Dude, it's so frustrating watching you guys. Like, we're in this little Discord chat together, and like Justin and Perch would be like, "Oh, I'm having such a bad day," like, whatever. And they're like maybe down a couple $100. And then lo and behold, every single day by the end of the day, they somehow sneak past me in their profits and they end up having a better day. Even though at the beginning they're like, "Oh, this day's terrible. I'm getting shit on right now." It's so frustrating.
yeah, I guess I have that mentality where not to say that I can't handle red, but I do. Maybe it's like a certain respect, I guess, for money that I have, where it's like I still consider $100 a lot of money. A couple months ago, if I made $100 in a day, like that was freaking awesome. Like I was jumping for joy. Like, not, and there is a certain like risk tolerance that builds up with that. But yeah, like ending the day down a couple $100, not that it would be devastating to me. That's not at all what I'm saying, but it's like, it's frustrating because I know like a couple $100 is like, that's a lot of money. Like that buys the groceries, that puts, gas in the tank. So, I don't know if that has to do with kind of like my upbringing, but like I've always had that like just respect for even like the small amounts of money. And I think some of that in my personality plays to like how I trade. If I was going to do like a root cause analysis of it, like that's just like what it is, I guess.
I do like your strategy because you're exactly right. It limits your downside risk, and like for those of us who are impatient like me, it's very like it either works or it doesn't,
Right.
Like you're not just gonna have to sit there and like sweat out this big red position while it like curls or whatever. No, it's like this is gonna work now or it's not gonna work. And I do like
Yeah.
that about what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a certain element to what I do where it's like I do have a little bit more control over my risk, which I like. But even if I'm playing something where I don't have as much control over my risk, I'm making sure that I'm sizing into that position correctly. And I still know where my stop is because I know when that stop hits, my thesis for whatever reason the taking the trade was is invalidated. But I'm still sized into that position correctly because I know if I take that loss, I've already accepted that dollar amount I'm willing to lose. And really, like that just goes back to the whole fact that once I've tightened up on that risk management, like that was really the turning point. And when my trading curve went from flat to just seeing a little bit of profits.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm having kind of an out of body experience listening to you guys talk because Esk and Ariel met on the podcast when Ariel co-hosted with Esk, and they were like talking, and then they both talked to you. And then I also feel like I know now everyone that you guys are talking about because we've had them on the podcast, and I've always like in my mind been like, there's a podcast community, but I've never really heard it like play out in front of me of like this person and this person and this person knows this person because of this. Not that I like did any of that, but I'm so like happy of all the little, it's like growing. It's growing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is amazing the community that you've built and bringing together all types of traders, trading small caps to large caps to options to futures. I mean, like it's incredible.
And I love, makes me so happy in the afternoons to go through and see like all my people supporting my people. Like Peanut is like now in the crew, and like he's supporting, like I introduced him to Bo, and like you guys, it's so, I don't know, it's just such a nice way to be, of just it's a rising tide.
I love it. It's such an honor to be associated with such good company. I mean, we just listed Real Simple, Ariel, and Esk, right? Like, who else could you aspire to be besides those two? But also like fintwit can have some toxicity, and I feel like people talk about that way more than they talk about how positive it can be. And my experience on fintwit has been so positive. Like
totally.
I love the connections that I've made and the friendships that I've made. It's been fantastic. And that is largely due to things like the podcast.
Totally. And I also like owe so much of it to Brad Mullins starting MTA like that. I had a really good pool to pull from because everyone was so great there. But we have gone outside of that now, and it's just cool to watch little like the relationships. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, it's a fun little web. And I think what's happened was there was probably a tighter community like this prior to the COVID market. And then all of a sudden, like COVID happened, and you have this influx of retail traders, and it just like all blew up and went everywhere. And now the market's gotten tough again. And like here we are, like all huddling together in this
Slowly
tight little
shrinking down,
circle
Yeah.
again. And so it's
The
going to be
survivors.
interesting to see like if the market rips again, like what blossoms out of that, you know, like
Yeah,
what
and
spins out
who's
of
like,
that.
oh, I'm too big for, I don't know, like whatever, like I'm posting my like $55 thing and everyone's like, yes, but like the market rips again, people are gonna be like, just throwing up 20k days, so I'm out of here. But it's fun now.
Well, so that's kind of, you know, one of the things like about FinTwit, which I've really liked, you know, with people picking each other up. And I think it's awesome, you know, to see like how traders, they can just stay in their own lane, you know, do what's working for them. And the Apple challenge that you've been doing, like if it's working for you, you know, keep doing it. And it's just about blocking out that noise. You know, it's about surrounding yourself with those who like are supporting you on that. And like Bofo mentioned, we do have this little off Discord, you know, Perch and Snacks and Callum and Techie, and like because we all have very you know similar trading styles, but to an extent we all have you know different trading styles, but we all kind of are able to lift each other up, you know, throughout the trading day, and you know kind of just like support each other. Like I had a really rough you know morning this morning trying to get everything going, and you know Perch came right in and was just like you know keeping me in check, and you know so it really just is awesome to have those people that you know are there to support you on your journey, because it's been said a million times, but it can be lonely. Like I had to hop off MTA voice today, you know, just to refocus. But like when you're there in silence and it's just you and the charts, it's like, damn, like why do I feel so alone right now?
Yeah, it can be different things for different people too. Like y'all, for me, this specific little small group that we've created recently, like it is your consistency. And like I've had a couple of days where I've like given back a nice green day, and like y'all have witnessed that. Like y'all have been there those days when I've had that, and like y'all don't fucking do that, you know. Like I'm the only person in the group that's happened to since we made this thing, and like y'all don't do that. And so when I do that and then I have to go like tell y'all about it, I hate that shit. And so I'm like, screw this. Like these guys don't give up their gains. I'm not giving up my gains, you know? And that, it helps. It works.
Yeah. It's supposed to be motivational, and, you know, basically just having people there to tell you, like, if you're battling those demons, like, get your shit together. Like, people to hold you accountable. Because like I would have people in MTA, I still have people in MTA hold me accountable if you know I need that accountability check, because the worst thing you can do is spiral. I mean
you know, I'm gonna compliment myself again here, my own personal growth, but 2 months ago me would have like heard about this room and been like, why didn't you have me? Like, I want to hang out. And like the moment you said it, I was like, that's awesome for them, but I like gotta I'm doing my own thing, which is like purely just me. I cannot be on Twitter. I can't be in Shark's room. I can't be in MTA. I cannot be anywhere. It just has to be me. And I feel like pretty proud of myself for not weaseling my way into this and like, let me try this out. Like, no. But I mean, I think that's awesome. But no, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because we do kind of trade a little bit similar, like we're all doing the small cap stuff, but the strategies are different. Like I honestly have no idea what the hell Snacks does. I don't know how the hell he makes his money, but he's
he's a different
We
beast.
talked to him for an hour.
well, not me.
Oh, you weren't on that one?
No, I wasn't on that one. You didn't invite me on that one.
Was Ellis on that one?
I think
Maybe.
he said Shark was,
Shh.
or because
Was it?
This
I
this
think
was
it
only
was
like
Shark.
a couple days ago.
I don't know.
My head is.
I guess we'll find out when the
Like,
episode's released, right?
But you're talking to me about how Snacks trades, and I'm like, yeah, but I know how he trades. But then I'm like, you should know how he trades because you were there. So anyway. Anywho.
Yeah, but yeah, it's funny. It's we're like a little bit in the weeds on what we're doing, but yeah, really it's community. It's just dudes being dudes and making friends and having support in the market, which is so important. I mean, we just can't say
Dudes
that
being
enough.
dudes. It could also
Bros
be people
being
being
bros.
people,
Yeah.
but
Well, yeah, same thing.
sure. Dudes meaning the universal dude.
Yes, dudes is
Of course.
always universal.
Of course. Well, Justin, what actually, I want to say what a comeback story, but you didn't blow up your account. So what a point A to point B story, and slow progress, and it's a grinding story.
Yeah,
And
But still,
absolutely.
man, like the fact that I want to like add to that, and there's the extra je ne sais quoi to it is going full time without being consistently profitable yet. Like I don't know. Actually, I don't know of anyone, I don't think, who's done that. Like taking that leap without having
really
the
stupid.
profitability first, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And just to kind of like reiterate, that was I want to keep calling it like a leap of faith and an investment in myself. Like as long as I am that type of person that like if I want to get something done, like I will pour my heart into it, and that's what I did. On top of getting up like super early for like pre-market just to watch charts, I don't do that so much anymore because I don't really trade pre-market. To sitting in front of the screens all day, to taking active trades, afterwards, doing my nightly journal, my trade review. I do nightly charting. I still do nightly charting, and reviewing stuff for tomorrow or getting prepared for the next day, which I still do to this day. It's just one of those things where it's like, I know that I want to make this work and I'm going to give every like ounce of effort I have into it.
Yes.
Until it does or it doesn't. And I have to give up. And I recognize that was a real possibility. Was like, I know the statistics are like only 5% or 10% of traders make it. Like I knew that like there was a good chance I wouldn't make it work, but I wouldn't be like I wouldn't be out on the streets, I wasn't ever in that position, which kind of helped me really focus on learning as opposed to trading to make the money at the beginning.
Yeah.
For sure. We've talked about that so much on here that like if I fail at this, either this being either trading or the podcast, I'm going to know 1,000,000% in my soul that I gave it everything that I had. I'm not a walk away
Yeah.
when it's partly done kind of person. I'm like, let's kill it before we really know. But I think that that's how you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think taking a casual approach, you'll just give your money to the market.
Yeah. Saying get kicked down 7 times, stand up 8. And it really is so true with this. Like, it's so easy to have a red day and get into the mentality of like, or even a red trade or whatever, and just get into the mentality of just like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Like, maybe like I can't do this. Like, but when you can take a step back and look at things really objectively and from a bigger picture point of view, and like really just, take it for the whole journey for what it's worth, then, that's kind of where you can really ground yourself. And then that's really, I think, where true growth happens, when you realize that it 100% is not something that's built overnight.
Totally.
Months, years, for people to make this work. And I knew that going in. I really did not think 7-8 months ago like I would be at where I'm at today, and I'm grateful for it. I truly am. And for that, like, I just want to continue to give back to like people who are trying to learn. Just like everybody like that I had questions for when I was trying to learn, 100% willing to answer every single time. And if I was going to give any advice to like any new traders, it would just be that: ask questions, reach out, because worst that happens is you don't get a response, but you move on,
Yeah.
And that really is the best way to learn.
For sure. Well, Justin, I'm so glad to know you. And
Yeah,
I really liked your story very much.
Thank you.
I think that that's such a good takeaway of just, if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to? Bofo,
Yeah.
You actually could probably take something from that. Here, Mr. I want to go full-time so bad. I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it.
We've talked about it.
Yeah, we went into length about this, I think, last night, actually. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just has bigger balls than me.
No, so it really comes down to what your situation is at the time. For me, like, I always believed in, I would never leave a job unless I had something else lined up. My applications would be out there, but bottom line was like there wasn't anywhere I could put applications out to. There was a couple, but it wasn't any, nothing ever amounted from it. But it really is situational. And for me, like, I don't have kids, I don't have any major financial responsibility at the time. So I am young enough that like if it doesn't work out, like if I, F this up, that, whatever, it's a little blip in my life, but I guess the risk reward of doing it, of taking that leap of faith, it was there.
Yeah.
And, I'm certainly glad that I did.
But that oil rig money, that's good money.
It was good money.
Walking away from a good paying job.
So it was 6 figures right out of school. Great benefits. And, at the time when I took the job, like, I knew that this is really great career experience.
Mm-hmm.
My background is chemical engineering. That's what I went to school for. So like our ultimate goal as like chemical engineers is, if we were going to work in the oil industry, it would be more like a refinery type setting. But I was actually like out in the oil patch. Like, the thing that got me at the time was, and I don't think I mentioned this earlier, was the schedule was 2 weeks at a time. You leave home 2 weeks, you'd come back for a week, not including travel days, or that does include travel days. So home for 5 days, and you go out and do it again. And the work it's stressful, it's long, so I did that for a year before I got laid off. Was laid off for about 6 months, came back to work. I think at the time it was a little over a year. And it was just taking a mental and physical toll on me, where I was just like, I really can't stay here. So I got to do something, either get a new job or we'll give this trading a shot.
Well, that actually kind of makes me feel better. Of like, it makes me feel less kind of guilty, I guess, because I certainly have a safety net as well. But if you really liked your job and you're making good money and you had good friends or whatever, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself, that, like, it makes it just, it's easier for me to be like, you needed a career change.
Right. And that's ultimately what it came down to, is not that I was scared of hard work or didn't want to work hard. And I mean, like, I was out there busting my ass, 2 weeks at a time. And after a while, it just does take that toll. I worked with guys out there who have been doing this for 10 plus years. They have a wife and kids, and they miss their kids growing up. They miss holidays. They miss really important family time. And a lot of that kind of funneled to me, where at the time when my girlfriend and I had moved to Texas so she can begin her master's program, her and I never really had a stable relationship situation, because we pretty much started dating like right before we graduated college, and then I went off to work and I would only come back every couple weeks. And then she actually went to Kenya for what was supposed to be a year, but she was over there for 4 months. Then she came back because of COVID, and I came back because of COVID. And then I went back to work. So we just never really had like time, like a like elongated period of time where we can just enjoy each other's company. And so that was also, a huge factor that weighed on me. It was like, I don't want to have a relationship for 10 plus years where I'm only going to get to enjoy a third of it.
Yeah.
Or experience a third of it. Like, that's also not fair to her. So, huge motivation. And like, honestly, I wouldn't be here, doing what I'm doing now without her, support in all of this. Like, she was telling me, go for it. So it wouldn't be possible if I didn't have her backing me.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. All right, Bo. It's time. You got to cut it off.
No, having so much fun.
Oh, no. I mean Bo's job.
Oh.
But
Well,
Gotcha.
yeah, we're inching towards it.
We're chatting about it. Think there's a good plan in place, and in due time. It's something that you don't want to force the decision. You gotta let it come organically, and if it doesn't make sense to you, then it doesn't make sense. So
yeah, it's something that I want right now, but like, it's definitely not a necessity right now.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Cool. Well, I got to go make some spaghetti. So I appreciate
enjoy.
you guys. And it was very fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on again.
Thanks. Thank you.
By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the Penny Lane podcast makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional or financial advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, the Penny Lane podcast does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. The third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of the Penny Lane podcast. The Penny Lane podcast assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and/or links referenced herein.